Here's a Beyond the Pitch podcast quick hit from the WVSA Digital Network.
I think it's a great method personally, and I've used it even working with elite players. We were using it in Morocco where, I'm able to coach some of the youth international players. We incorporated, the concept of it even in our methodology. And I've used it even at other levels, when I was a DOC in the US and everywhere else in between. And what it is play-centered. So first and foremost, you're creating an environment where players are playing the game. So they're learning how to play the game, solve problems, and take on board information from the environment. So they're interacting with the environment. So it's interacting and creating an opportunity where using chaos and play-centered game-based approaches all in one. So what you're doing as a coach is you're giving them problems to solve, not necessarily answers. And that's so important that, first of all, what's one of the biggest questions kids often say, or even players, adults, they'll say, when can we scrimmage? When can we play a match? So, and we know that players make decisions based on time, space, and numbers. Over 85% of the information soccer players take on board is through their eyes. Obviously, you've got other senses, but it's mainly through their eyes. How they're scanning, they're searching for information from the environment in order to create their own adaptable solution. So play, practice, play is tapping into that. It's a play-centered approach where you're playing games, but it's not just as simple as, put them into a game and that's okay, they'll learn. It's about giving them questions. And sometimes it's questions where there's not necessarily a verbal answer. It's just more show me, don't tell me. And you're giving them a problem to solve where they've then got to interact, as I said before, with the environment and come up with their own solutions. So the intentionality is really key here. And play, practice, play is a method that's used to balance play and practice. So you're getting the returns from playing in a game and that realism. So it's representative of what they're going to see in a match. But you're also getting the element of repetition without repetition. So repetition with repetition would be, as you and I both know, you're focusing on a principle or a learning focus, but it's under the same conditions and it's a constant practice. Whereas repetition without repetition is that they're getting a learning opportunity around a particular principle or set of principles, but it's under different scenarios. So that's the game, that's the reality. So it's important that for coaches, you're tapping into this thing called intentional free play. So as the players are arriving, that first stage is giving them an opportunity where they're playing, they're becoming familiar with the rules of the game, first of all, and what's happening, what the challenge is, and what's the question that they've been asked. And then they're playing and they're trying to solve the problem and come up with their own solution. And then the element of practice is where you can continue that learning and stretch the players further. So you can stretch and challenge them and create an activity that, again, recreates the realism of the game and offers more choices, more competition, and more challenges. And then finally, there's an extension of that, which is the final play phase, where they're in a game activity and, excuse me, there's a halftime talk. So they're in a game activity, there's a halftime talk, and there's an opportunity where it's so realistic to the game where they can actually solve problems like they would on a Sunday or a Wednesday or whenever they play their regular game. So for the coaches, what they can do is they can manage the opposition to create a realistic problem for the players to solve. And in doing so, the players are faced with a real challenge that they might be 1-0 down or 1-0 up or 2-1 or whatever the score may be. And at half time, even irrespective of the score, the coach can ask questions, guided questions to the players, like you would do in a regular halftime talk, hopefully, and say to players like, what's happened? What do you think? How can we do even better? What do we need to do? Who's the danger player for the opposition? Are they playing through, around, or over us? How can your movement create space for yourself or your teammate? You might be asking them questions, you might be setting them challenge, you're giving them information to affect the second half. So again, the big question for coaches listening is, how often do you prepare players for the second half? And even understanding how to manage the game. And more often than not, the only experiences they get are on a match day. So play, practice, play is not only play-centered again, they're getting loads of touches on the ball and free play and creativity and freedom to make mistakes. But you're also giving them an opportunity to prepare for the second half, prepare for managing the game, because they're having their own little mini games. And it's a great way for coaches to create games within games. So for me, it's a fantastic tool.